I really wanted to be excited for these GPUs, I really did, but as it turns out, I just can't recommend them based on what we've seen. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys, Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. The year is 2017, Intel has announced that they will be entering the discrete GPU market, where they will take on AMD and Nvidia's gaming GPUs, and along with that announcement, they have poached head of AMD's Radeon Graphics division, Raja Koduri. I, along with many in the computer hardware's tech space, are excited that there will finally be another player in the GPU space, a market which could greatly benefit from having a third player, as more competition creates more innovation, and also better prices, so ultimately it's the consumer who is the winner. Rumors last year indicated that Intel's flagship GPU would target the RTX 3070 and RX 6700 XT, which as a first attempt in the GPU gaming market, definitely wasn't a bad entry point, especially if they could come in cheaper. Unfortunately, this optimism would soon diminish as when Intel had released the Arc A380, a card that was expected to perform like a 6500 XT, ended up only offering performance comparable to an RX 6400 XT, a whole tier slower. Therefore, the performance targets then had to be re-evaluated, and now we were expecting Intel's flagship Arc GPU to perform like an RTX 3060 Ti. Along with that, there are a plethora of issues regarding stability, driver issues, and games straight up not working. A lot of people gave them a pass for this and ended up overlooking this, as this wasn't even a card that was going to be sold worldwide, and it was only meant to be shipped in some OEM configurations to be sold in some Asian markets. Hopefully once Intel had launched their flagship Arc GPUs, these issues would be a thing of the past, right? Well, on October 5th, the review embargo for the A770 and A750 lifted, and many well-known reviewers in the tech space showcased their results, and I have to say most of the feedback I was seeing was mixed, but more so leaning towards the negative side. One of the main takeaways I had from seeing all the reviews was just how inconsistent the performance was with these graphics cards. Like, you'll have some games where you will see Nvidia is dominating, or you will see AMD is doing well, but for the most part, when you take a look at a GPU like the RTX 3060 Ti, you know where it will land relative to other models on the market. With Arc, it really didn't seem like that. In some instances, the cards punch above their weight. Gamers Nexus in their review showed the A770 was performing almost as well as an RTX 3070 in Strange Brigade. Tech Power Up in their review also showed how in Metro Exodus, the GPUs were outperforming the 3070, whereas Hardware Unboxed showed a handful of games where the A770 and A750 are trading blows with the RX 6600 and 3060. However, some games like CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, and Valorant showed absolutely abysmal performance. What do all three of these games have in common? Well, they're popular esports titles. The reason for this is because Intel has decided their focus would be on optimizing their drivers for DX12 and Vulkan APIs. These are low-level hardware APIs that are generally what modern games are coming out with, so if you're primarily playing esports titles, then definitely stay away from Intel's Arc GPUs. One of the reasons why their performance was so bad in a game like CSGO is because they don't natively support DX9, so they use a translation layer from DX12, which is basically converting commands, and that adds a lot more CPU driver overhead and latency. Really not sure why Intel decided to go with that decision when engineering these cards. If you have to forego a lot of backwards compatibility, then I would say stay away from these graphics cards, because that is what one of the major benefits is of PC gaming. The fact that, if I want to install a game from 2002, I can do so and enjoy it whether I have an AMD or an Nvidia card. Like, imagine not being able to go back and play a great game like Half-Life 2. Reviewers had also mentioned games crashing, textures not loading, a lot of other issues. Kid Guru in their review had a portion where they talked about weird issues with certain games, which I'm sure over time will be fixed through driver revisions. Gamers Nexus even talked about monitor detection bugs, but clearly this tells us that these cards were simply not ready for launch, something happened during development, and it's an incomplete product. Just take a look at these die sizes, 406mm square, and for the most part, it's performing like GPUs that have die sizes that are significantly smaller. Something definitely went wrong here. The other big caveat is that Intel recommends that at minimum you will need Intel's 10th generation or AMD's Ryzen 3000 CPU. The reason for this is because Intel said resizable bar is basically a necessity for these cards. Using them without rebar enabled will basically be like chopping off one of their legs. It's really that bad. So when it comes down to it, with all these issues that reviewers are reporting, and the fact that you can find a stable alternative like the 6650 XT for cheaper, then it really doesn't make any sense for a gamer to buy these cards. I did see people mentioning about how good the encoding performance is on these, which is fine, but these are supposed to be gaming focused GPUs first. The only people I can see buying these cards are hardcore Intel fanboys, or the hardware enthusiasts who just want something new to tinker around with. And hey, if you are in the former, go for it. Like, even I'm a bit tempted on trying to get my hands on one of these cards to simply play around with it and do some benchmark with it for fun. But if someone asked me for advice on the PC build, which graphics card they should get for their daily driver, I'm recommending AMD and Nvidia for now. And I know that I said that we should be happy that there is a third player finally in the market, and people want to sympathize by saying, it's fine, this is their first attempt, you can't be too harsh. I mean, a big tech influencer openly shilled for these cards, but you know what? I don't respect that. This is a multi-billion-dollar semiconductor. Intel hired on well-known talents in the industry to architect these GPUs. This isn't some new silicon startup company entering the graphics space. This is Intel. There's no excuse for the issues these cards were having, and, I wouldn't want to be Intel's guinea pig, neither should you. Raw performance itself isn't an issue. I genuinely believe that if drivers were polished as well as Nvidia's, these cards would be performing a whole tier higher. But they're not, and on top of that, they're not priced competitively either. Sure, they're coming in cheaper than Nvidia's discrete solutions, but they're not cheaper than AMD's. The other thing I wanted to point out was that while having a third player in the market is beneficial, if Intel's just going to have these issues with graphics drivers and, not having proper support for older games, people are going to ignore these GPUs, and then what's going to happen? AMD and Nvidia are going to act like they're non-existent. There's not going to be any price war, there's not going to be any sort of competition for better innovation. So that's why it's really important for Intel to get their act together. You want good raw rasterization performance for cheap, go with AMD, you'll get a stable experience. You want that plus better ray tracing, go with Nvidia. If they want people to put up with driver issues, then they should give people a break with their pricing. For a first attempt, they're not horrible cards. I just think that the timing was terrible, and also not having polished drivers upon release will deter tons of people away. I always tell people to never buy hardware based on future promises. Who knows how long it will take their driver team to fix all these issues, or if they'll ever be fixed. I can also see these cards getting a price drop fairly soon. At this point in time, they're definitely not going to be selling the way Intel desires. If they need to sell the cards for a while at a loss, then that's fine. If there's a company that can afford to do so, it's probably Intel. I just hope they don't give up on this venture and continue to release hardware, and no consumer should be responsible for that.
If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.